Hello everyone, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna be doing something quite interesting, and I'm gonna be predicting all the matches of the first five match days of the Premier League, and then we're gonna have a look at what I have predicted will be the table after five matches in the Premier League, because I still think it's a bit early to do official predictions. So this will be something a bit different, a bit of a table predictor, bit of a fixture predictor. So yeah, be something a bit different, bit interesting ahead of a very busy start of the season coming soon. So as always, if you're excited for the video, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into it. Okay, so obviously, there's only one place to start with this video. I will have to address the passing of Diego Jota and Andre Silva, his brother. This didn't sink in when I first saw the news. It didn't make sense, as Ronaldo said. It's just devastating, basically. I can't imagine how it must feel for the people around him. But yeah, I just thought, I have to clear that up. My thoughts are with the people who knew him and his brother best. And I have still decided to make a video which on the grand scheme of things isn't really related to the incident. Only a day after. I'll just think, clear up that, my thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends. And yeah, I am devastated. I think it's a really devastating story. But I just had to clear that up. Okay, so we'll start off with the first match of the season on the Friday night. It is Liverpool v Bournemouth. Of course, there'll be lots of tributes, I'm sure about it, to him, Diego, and his brother during that match. So yeah, it will be hard, and I do think the team will put out a great performance, making probably a 3-1 win there. And I'll go quite quickly with all these matches because, I've got 5 game weeks to predict in of 10 matches in one video. So, Villa, Newcastle, probably most excited for this match on the opening weekend. I'm going to go 1-1. Brighton and Fulham. I think both teams will be hunting Europe once again this season. I'm going to say a strong 2-0 win for Brighton at home. Forest v Brentford. Brentford maybe could go down, but in the mix, losing in Burma, losing Thomas Frank, their manager, go 1-0 to Forest. Sunderland, West Ham, the long-awaited return of Sunderland to the Premier League. I think they'll put up a good fight, but West Ham will just be that little bit stronger and win 2-1. Tottenham v Burnley, I'm going to say Thomas Frank's first competitive match. I will say a strong 4-1 statement victory for Tottenham. Then Wolves v Man City, Saturday night football. I'm going to say a really entertaining game. Man City just coming back from a pretty relatively disappointing Club World Cup, losing in the round of 16 to Al Hilal. I'll say a 4-2 win for Man City, a really good game at the Molineux. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge. I just feel like Chelsea couldn't make it further in this Club World Cup. Not to write anyone off, but they have quite a favourable side of the draw in the quarter-final stage. And then Man U v Arsenal. Man U just don't really see what's saying they're going to have any better of a season, really. And Arsenal look alright, but I'm actually going to go with a 0-0 draw. Then Leeds v Everton, the return of Leeds to the Premier League. I'm going to say a really good 2-0 win for Leeds at Elland Road. On to game week 2, match day 2. Bournemouth v Wolves, two teams who I predicted lose to Big Six teams on the opening weekend. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw there. Palace versus Forest, I definitely think Palace are going to really be excited towards the start of the season. Still should be getting into Europe and, well, they're FA Cup champions anyway, so I'd say 2-0 win for Palace. Arsenal Leeds first away game this season, and I don't think it's going to go well. I'm going 4-0 to Arsenal. Then Brentford versus Aston Villa. Villa, I think, will be really excited at the start of this season. I'm going to say a 3-1 win for Villa at the G-Tech. Burnley versus Sunderland. I'm going to say Sunderland get a last-minute winner to get their first win on the board this season, 1-0. Everton versus Brighton, the first game at the Everton Stadium, the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I'm going to say, surely they have to win. Also, second season in a row where their first home game's been against Brighton, which is interesting. But I remember it from last year. They lost that one. I'm going to say they win this one 2-1. Then Fulham versus Man U at Craven Cottage. I think it's going to be an iffy start for Manchester United. And I'm going to say a 3-1 win for Fulham. Then Man City v Tottenham, I can see being a great game. Two teams who I predicted to have statement starts to the season. I'd say 3-2 to Man City. Newcastle v Liverpool, it is an interesting one, isn't it? Newcastle, I think they'll start the season strong. I think they'll begin to struggle when they also get those Champions League fixtures kicking in even more than last time as well now. I'll say 1-1 there. Then West Ham versus Chelsea. And I'm going to say Chelsea failed to get their first win. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Now we move on to match day 3. And kicking it off, Sunderland versus Brentford. An interesting one. Could be a bottom of the table clash. Just don't know how it'll turn out. I'm going to say 0-0 there. So another point for Sunderland. Villa versus Crystal Palace. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Villa. Two teams I think will start strongly this season. Brighton v Man City. And I'm going to say a shocker here. A 2-1 win for Brighton. Telling the rest of the league they are not here to mess around. Chelsea versus Fulham. Or I will say Chelsea get their first win. I'll say 1-0. Liverpool versus Arsenal. It's a big match very early on in the season. Could be a title game. You don't know how it'll turn out. And I will say Liverpool get a 2-0 win against Arsenal. Leeds versus Newcastle. Leeds started well. Bit of a dodgy game against Arsenal in my predictions. I'll say 3-1 to Newcastle because I definitely think Newcastle will be ready for this season. Man U versus Burnley. I'll say Burnley get their first points on the board. A 0-0 draw. We saw last season how good they are defensively in the Championship. So I think they'll be able to hold Man U to a clean sheet there. Then Forest versus West Ham. It's going to be hard for Forest to replicate that form. West Ham, I think, is going to start well. I think they'll continue with that with a 2-0 win at the City ground. Then Tottenham versus Bournemouth. And Tottenham, another team who I think going to come out quickly and strongly at the start of this season. I'll say 3-0 win for them against Bournemouth. Just not sure about Bournemouth this season. I'm not sure. They had a decent season last year. Fell off a bit towards the end of the season, and could that form carry on into this season? We'll see. Then Wolves versus Everton. Everton, lots of excitement about their new stadium. However, Wolves, I think, could be strong at home this year. And even though I could see them going down, I'll say a 2-2 draw there. Okay, so match day 4, this is like just before the European competition starts, so quite interesting this week. Bournemouth v Brighton. I'm going to say Bournemouth actually get a draw 2-2. Palace versus Sunderland. Palace, I think, will have a great start to the season, continue that with a 3-0 win. Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. I definitely think Arsenal will pick up a bit in this game, win 3-1. Brentford v Chelsea, despite the poor start, I do think they'll be able to get past Brentford 2-0 to Chelsea. Burnley v Liverpool. it's going to be interesting in games like this for Burnley because we could see how good defensively, as I said earlier, against championship level opponents. Against big six teams, these top teams like Liverpool, I'm not sure, but I'll say a 3-0 win for Liverpool. So, yeah. Then Everton versus Villa back at the Everton Stadium for Everton. And I'm going to say they continue unbeaten there. I think, it's going to have to be a bit of a fortress. I'll say 1-1. Fulham versus Leeds. I'm going to say, Leeds have a really good start to the season, I reckon. 2-1 to Leeds, I'm actually going to say. Then the Manchester derby already in the season. It was quite late, the first one. Yeah, it was in December, wasn't it? It was at the Etihad that year. Last year, Man U won. I'm going to say they do the same. Despite a terrible start, I'm going to go with, shockingly, 1-0 to Man U. And Man City, with 2 losses in their first 4 matches. Then Newcastle versus Wolves. I believe it's the last game before Newcastle start their Champions League campaign. They'll want to start, send themselves off well. I'll say a 2-0 win. And then West Ham versus Tottenham. Bit of a derby, I guess, and similar thing with Tottenham to Newcastle. They'll want to send themselves off well into the Champions League, and I'm going to say a 2-1 win to Spurs. Now on to the final game week I'm predicting in this video, game week 5. Start off with Bournemouth in Newcastle. This is where I believe the Champions League fixtures start. Fatigue and depth is going to be tested a lot here. I'm going to say 2-1 win for Bournemouth. Sunderland against Aston Villa. Sunderland, I think, start with a few pretty good matches, a win, a draw, but I'm still going to say a 2-0 win for Aston Villa at the Stadium of Light. Brighton versus Tottenham. Again, similar to Newcastle. Tottenham would have just played a Champions League game, I believe. And for that reason, I'm going to say a 3-1 win to Brighton. So, really good start for them this season. Arsenal against Manchester City. I'm actually going to say a 2-2 draw. I think that'll be close, though. And I think maybe a decent result for Man City based on I predicted them to start the season. Burnley against Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go 0-0. A bit of a dull game. I definitely think Forest won't be as good as they were last season. Bit of an iffy start for them. Fulham, Brentford, another team with an iffy start. Sadly, I think that continues. 2-0 to Fulham. Liverpool versus Everton. So quite early, we also get the Merseyside derby. And I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I definitely think Everton's going to be up for it. I think they'll be pushing very hard and get a draw 1-1. Manchester United against Chelsea. Chelsea had a few iffy games. Another team with iffy games at the start of this season in my predictions. I'm going to say another draw for them, 1-1. Then West Ham against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, I'm actually going to say their incredible form continues. 3-1 win. Then Wolves against Leeds. As I said, Wolves, I just think are going to be really good at home this season. I'll go 3-2 to Wolves. And finally, in this video, I'm going to run through our table that I've made from these predictions of the first 5 matches. Again, this is nowhere near an official table prediction. This is really a bit of fun before the season truly kicks in. So, Brentford are actually bottom with 1 point here. Burnley 19th with 2 points. Then we jump up to Forest in 18th in the relegation zone with 4 points. Sunderland 17th, the same amount of points. I believe they're only above them on goals scored, actually. 16th, I've got Bournemouth with 5 points. Wolves 5 points, the same in 15th. Leeds 14th, 6 points. Pretty good start for them. Man U also on 6 points. In 13th. Everton same in 12th. Fulham the same in 11th. So quite a few teams on 6 points there. West Ham in 10th, pretty good start to the season. Not great last year, so this will be good for them. Man City 9th on 7 points. Yeah, West Ham also had 7 points. Not too good for Man City. Newcastle 8th with 8 points, considering the European commitments. All right. Arsenal actually 7th with 8 points. Thought they could be a bit higher than that. Chelsea 6th, which surprises me because I had a few dodgy games for them there. And unbeaten actually, 9 points there. Tottenham 5th there, also on 9 points. So good statement start for them under Thomas Frank. And then we've got Brighton 10 points in 4th. Really good start for them. I definitely think they'll have a good year next season. Then Palace 3rd, an incredible start to the season. Also on 10 points, that rivalry there towards the top of the table. Good to see. Then I've got Villa 2nd on 11 points, unbeaten like Chelsea. Also unbeaten on 11 points, I have Liverpool. So that's by no means saying, I think Forest, Burnley and Brentford are going down. By no means saying I think Liverpool's winning the league. Even though either of those facts I could believe, this is just based on how I think teams will start the season. And as I said, just a bit of fun. Okay, so that concludes the video. I've had really good video, really enjoyed that. Some interesting things to see there. I like seeing how, what my predicted the Matchdays make a table look like. I find that quite interesting, kind of visualizing my predictions. So really enjoyed this video. Could, if I get time, do the same with the Championship, maybe League 1 and League 2. We'll just see how it goes. Let me know some video ideas. If you've got some, I'll try and sink them in if I like them. And one thing, like, subscribe, all of that. And one thing left to say. Bye and peace.